Hi, and welcome to an overview of Plugin Optimizer, an innovative and simple way to quickly speed up any WordPress site. How do we do it? It's pretty easy. With Plugin Optimizer, we simply block plugins from running where they shouldn't be running on your site. We love WordPress, but it has a major problem. It can get bloated quickly. By adding in a few plugins, we end up slowing down everything significantly. Plugin Optimizer solves this easily by blocking plugins from running where they shouldn't be running. Let's take a look at how easy it is to set up and start speeding up your pages right now. Here we have a fresh install of WordPress with a couple of popular free plugins as well as a couple premium ones. We have WooCommerce and a couple of its free add-ons installed, Affiliate WP and a couple of its free add-ons installed, WP Fusion, WP Forms, Elementor for page building, and BuildWooFunnels for marketing funnels. It gives us 11 plugins in the site. Let's start by looking at the home page of a fresh WordPress install and the Plugin Optimizer status notification window that shows up after you install it. As you can see, we have a few pieces of information in here. This window is going to change a little as we build a filter, but for now you can see that the first line says recreate the menu. This refers to the WordPress menu in the back end. Occasionally, you might find an element missing from that menu because of how Plugin Optimizer works. If you do, you can just click this text link right here from any page, front end or back end, and it'll rebuild the menu for you. Plugin Optimizer is also doing this automatically in the back end, so we doubt you'll actually have to click this, but we have it here just in case. Next, you'll see we have a list of blocked plugins and that there are no plugins blocked. You can see we have a list of the 11 running plugins and that they are allowed to run. And then at the end, we can see that it's telling us there are no filters running on this endpoint. And so we need to go set one up. All right, let's make a filter. First, we need to grab our URL and copy it. And then second, we'll go into the back end of WordPress and we'll come down here to Plugin Optimizer Filters. You can see we're on the filters page and we can create a filter. So first we'll hit create, and the first thing we need to do is give it a title. Now, the title of a filter is important because you'll probably end up with a lot of these, and so I like more detail. So I'm going to say that this is for the front end of the site, and I'm going to call it the home page, and we're going to call it block, and so we know that we're using it to block. So the second thing that we need to look at is this type over here. We're going to be using endpoints, which you've heard me say at least once already. And this word also is synonymous for slug or URL. And it really means any static URL, slug, endpoint in the back end or the front end of your site that you want us to filter with Plugin Optimizer. So we're going to build one with an endpoint here, but let me show you the second type. The second is for post type. Now, post type has to do strictly with the back end, and it has to do with when you're editing these types of elements. So if you're editing a coupon in WooCommerce, or a landing page in Elementor, or maybe an order in WooCommerce, these are all different post types. And because they do not have unique endpoints, we have to set up individual filters for the editing of those in those types. So when you're editing a page, you'll want one per page. Editing a post, you'll want one per post. But for this one, we're doing an endpoint. So endpoint, and now we're going to paste our URL in here. You see, when I paste it, we only end up with a slash, and that's because we are doing the home page, and we have automatically removed the slug from the URL. You could also put in like sample page and write it in yourself. Any slug works. We will only allow slugs from the site given, so any other pages that you stick in here. So if you copy from another WordPress site because you have a filter that you like, you can just copy the URL, bring it over in here, and it'll strip out the root of that URL and leave you just with your relative link. So we've got the home page ready to filter here. So now we step down and we see two sections. We have the plugins section. We can say we have 10 active and 0 inactive plugins. Those are represented in these two sets. Active plugins here, inactive plugins here, and there's none. We also have groups and categories, but those can be covered in another video. So what we need to do is decide what we're going to turn off as far as plugins to save speed and load on our server. So being this is the home page on this particular site, and each site is going to be unique, so it's going to need to be thought about a little bit, particularly with front-end pages. Back-end pages is much easier to know, but front-end pages, you'll have to think about it a little bit. But on this site, I'm going to say that I do not want the little WooCommerce shopping cart, and I don't actually need any WooCommerce code running on my homepage. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to turn off its tracking, analytics, and its gateway. And then because we're building with Elementor, we're going to leave that on. And we don't need affiliate WP on this page because we're not going to be sending affiliates here or making this a landing page, so we can turn that off. We're not having any forms, say a support form or anything on this page, so we can turn WP forms off. And we need to turn affiliate WP off there. We aren't going to need a Kismet here because we're not on the blog, so we can turn that off. And this is not being used as a funnel page, so we can turn that off. And we can see that WP Fusion, we aren't protecting this page or needing it to report anything back to a CRM, so we're going to turn that off. And as you can see, that leaves us with one green element with a check and 10 red elements with an X. So now all we have to do is save this filter. So the filter is saved. And now let's go back to our homepage. Here's our simple, ugly homepage again. And you can see, we'll go back up to the tool here, that we haven't changed it yet. It still says no block plugins, no running plugins, but I want to draw your attention to this piece right here. This page currently is taking 65.3 megabytes of data to build it. And you can see it's a very simple page. There's really nothing here, a couple of small graphics and some text, so it really shouldn't be that big. And that is that problem with WordPress where there's all the plugins running a bunch of their code that don't need to be run. So let's go ahead and refresh this page and look at what happens to this number. I'm going to refresh it, and look, we dropped down to 28.69. And we can see now that we have 9 plugins blocked and are not running on the site. We have 2 plugins being allowed to run, Elementor, the builder, and Plugin Optimizer. And we can now see that the filter in use is this filter that we defined. And if I want to edit it, I can easily click on it or right click on it to open it back up again. And for testing, if you want to see, perhaps you turned off a plugin that you don't think you should have turned off, you can see what the page looks like again, and if anything changes, just by clicking this link right here. And we'll click it, and you can see that the memory is going to go back to 65, and we're back to no blocked plugins, and this page is not being filtered. What we did is add this little section right here, and so you can either hit the back button or you can delete that, and then you'll come right back to the sped up page. So it's that easy.